everyone, and welcome to the Uncreative Crafter. My name is Jen, and I am your host. Today is Saturday, December 26th, 2015, and this is a winter camp mini episode. So, at this point, if you don't know what winter camp is, go back and find Sarah of the Canadian Knitter podcast's YouTube video on it. She explains it really well. Chances are good you're here because you've heard of winter camp, you're participating in winter camp, and maybe you're in my cabin. So if you are, welcome. Everybody should now have their cabin assignments. They've all been linked in their cabin threads, and we've started chatting. There is still time if you did not sign up already. Sign-ups are closed except for Team Puffin, which is the day camp for those who can't commit to the whole 3 months or those who missed the sign-up date. So just a heads up on that one. So welcome. Again, my name is Jen. I host the Uncreative Crafter video podcast on YouTube about twice a month, and I am also team leader for the Snowy Owls. So I did get to pick my winter cabin animal, and I like owls, and nobody had snagged them yet, so I stole them. So if you are in my cabin, welcome. I've been really enjoying getting to chat with you all in the thread and getting to know everybody and learning where you're from and what your plans are for camp. And I hope to make friends with as many of you as possible because that's awesome. I love doing that. It just boggles my mind that I'm in this community with people all around the world and we're chatting and becoming friends. So anyway, I thought I'm going to try and keep my regular podcast videos separate from winter camp. I run long already anyway. I inherited my mother's gift of rambling. So, and plus there are people who are going to be in winter camp who aren't interested in the podcast, and that's totally cool. You do not have to watch my podcast to be in camp or in my cabin. It's cool if you do, though. I really appreciate it. And then there are going to be people who watch the podcast who aren't interested in winter camp. So it just seemed easier to make little mini episodes to give a little bit of progress on that. So I thought that now that we've been sorted and everything, I would sort of give you a sense of what my plans are and show you guys some pretty yarn. I've done that a little bit on the podcast already, but I sort of have things organized a little bit better now. So we're going to go with it. I currently have 3 plans for January, 3 plans for February, and like 2-ish plans for March. I kind of petered out when we got to March, so that's sort of still up in the air. The goal was that I was going to have everything planned and figured out and plotted, and the best laid plans of mice and men, I guess. So anyway, let's chat about January 1st. I have done some swatching. Not like hardcore swatching, but like I have swatched. And so the first thing I swatched for was my hitchhiker shawl. This is for my informal poop along with Andrea, the cat lady of the Cat Lady podcast. And it is completely informal. There are no prizes, it's just for funsies. And basically we both have unicorn poop, which is a yarn from Love Knots, who is our friend Rachel. She's Love Knots on Etsy and on Ravelry, and she's actually got her own video podcast also. And so we are both going to be making hitchhikers out of this unicorn poop. Hitchhiker is a €3.40 Ravelry download. It's about $3.83 United States, US, at the time of recording. That may change. So it's relatively inexpensive. It's this asymmetrical shawly scarfy thing if you've not seen it, but chances are good you've seen it because I'm like the last person on the planet Earth to knit one. Anyway, I am getting a gauge that I like. It's not exactly the patterns gauge, I think, but close enough, and we can always just block it a little bit bigger, right? And I am getting that on US size 2s, which are, and of course the iPad is in the way, 2.75 millimeter needles. So I literally just stuck the needles in here so I would remember that I'm using my size 2s. But anyway, unicorn poop is normally on a sparkly base. Rachel did get sent the wrong base by her supplier, and I said that's totally fine. I don't care if it's sparkly or not. I kind of just want to get my yarn. So And of course the screen, it's awful lighting in here today. It's cloudy out and it's starting to get dark, even though it's only 3:30. The days are slightly longer now, but not by much. So anyway, cannot wait to get this started. And this is probably going to be my New Year's Eve cast on because I am not going to be at home for that. So you probably don't want to start something crazy big. And let's see, next up I have started swatching for my Josephine sweater. I'm probably mispronouncing that one. It is a $6 Ravelry download. The pattern is by Elin Berglund. And I am making it in some Reynolds Whiskey, which is a sport weight yarn that is discontinued. So, thankfully I bought I bought all that my local yarn store had years ago when I was planning on making a sweater, and it never happened. So I have done 2 swatches, and I was pretty pleased with myself because it seemed like things were going pretty well. And then I washed and dried the swatch that I did yesterday because I didn't gauge on the first one, and I measured it right before I, decided to record, and I still am not getting gauge. On US size 4 needles, I'm getting about 5.5 stitches per inch, and on US size 3s, I'm getting 6.5 stitches per inch, and guess what gauge I need to get? I need to get 6 stitches per inch, and there's no 3.5 needle. So I don't know what to do. I can't really change the way I knit. I don't know. I don't know what to do. So for right now, I'm not panicking. I've still got a week to figure it out, but I'm a little annoyed. I will show you the swatch that I did on the US size 3s, and those are 3.25 millimeter needles. And I did the cheaty swatch, I didn't do the garter stitch around the edge and everything. And this sweater is knit in the round for the most part. So I did do the cheater swatch. So if you've never done one of these before, that's the back of the swatch, and that's the front of the swatch. And what you basically do is you cast on your stitches, and you either want to be working on a double pointed needle or a circular needle. You cannot do this kind of swatch on a straight needle. And you knit to the end of your row, and then you slide the yarn to the other end of the needle, and then you basically carry a really loose strand of yarn here across the back. And you can either, snip this, or I just leave it on there because why not? And obviously, no, I'm not doing the whole 4x4 inch gauge swatch. But anyway, I mean, it's really pretty. It's nice. It's not too see-through. It's just not gauge. So I'm a little annoyed, but I'll figure it out. I'll chat with the other team leaders, and I think they've all made sweaters at this point except for me. So hopefully they've got some tips and some advice, or they can just tell me another size of the sweater to knit, because I don't know what to do. And I don't know the row gauge either. I've never had to worry about row gauge. I was so bummed about not getting stitch gauge that I didn't honestly even measure row gauge. Anyway, it's a beautiful yarn. It is in my humongous Stitched Together 4G bag, which is Amanda of the Stitched Together 4G is her Etsy shop. And her podcast is Stitching You and More. She's also the team lead for Team Panda, and I knew that I was going to be planning to make a sweater pretty soon, so I had her make me this gigantozoid bag. All of my yarn is in here. It's got these cool little paracord drawstrings. My needles are in here. This is what the yarn looks like up in a ball, so I don't have to wind it into balls or anything, which is nice. My other swatch is in here. So actually, just for funsies, this is knit, and I don't know where I read this, but I read a little hint thing that says tie the number of knots in one of your tail ends, the number of, to your needle size. So this one has 4 knots in it, and this one has 3. Did I put any knots in this one? Maybe I didn't put any knots in this one. Well, okay, I forgot to put the number of knots in here, but this is on a US size 3 and this is on a US size 4. So you can see this one's a lot looser. Good drape to it. This one's got a little bit more substance to it. But again, this is 5.5 stitches per inch, and this is 6.5 stitches per inch. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Figure it out tomorrow. Not today. Today is podcasting and uploading and editing day. And just relaxing because it's the day after Christmas. And then the last thing that I'm planning on making in January, and this is hopefully going to get me 40 bonus points, assuming I can figure it out. I'm not doing a pattern by a featured designer, but I am planning on doing a purple hat. I'm planning on doing the Quist hat, which is a pattern by Melanie Berg. It's a €3.90 download on Ravelry, about $4.39 US. And I'm planning on using some Malabrigo sock yarn that I have had in my stash for years, and I've had balled up for months. And just, again, you intend to use it next, and then out of sight, out of mind, I guess, and I just never made anything with it. I knew I didn't want it to be socks, and I guess I was a little bit shawled out at the time. So it is Malabrigo sock in the Abril colorway. It's those beautiful purples. And that's, that's actually relative. And look at how messy it is, because I made this up months ago. So it's just got these beautiful variegations and tonal color shifts, and it's going to be really pretty and dimensional and lovely. I have not swatched for this, because you have to swatch in pattern. And so I'm kind of hoping I can just use my US size zeros, because it calls for 2s, and normally I knit things at least 2 needle sizes down. I should swatch. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I don't know. But I know I'm not the only person who's hoping to make a Quist hat either, so that will be cool. And if it doesn't fit my head, maybe it will fit somebody else's. But it'd be really pretty if it would fit my head. So yeah, in February, I am planning on working on the sweater, because I do not assume that I'm going to finish the sweater until the end of camp. So that's going to be all 3 months. And then I had my husband pick my next brown bag sock club. Basically, I have most of my sock yarn. I haven't bagged it all up at this point because I got some new sock yarn. But I put it into brown paper bags and I tape it up and I put it up on top of our hutch. And the next time I'm ready to make a pair of socks, I have my husband just pick it for me. I just tend to make plain vanilla socks, so I don't need to match up a pattern or anything. I just cast on and go. And I was actually really excited about this one because of a couple of reasons. So he picked, the brand is 2if by Hand, and it is their fingering / sport weight, 325 yards Girl on Fire colorway. And so it is this just gorgeous reds and oranges and deep browns and just fabulous. And I won this from the Just One More Row podcast, which you got the little button on there, but you can't really see it. So, and I've had this sitting around for a while. It's merino cashmere nylon, which I've never used before, so I'm excited. I think it's a little bit fatter than my usual sock yarn, since it's really, you'll be fed in an hour and 15 minutes. I'm so sorry. My cat, not Ozzy, the one who's sleeping right there, Dorian, the fat one, is playing in some of the leftover Christmas tissue paper, because why not? Anyway, so I'm excited to use this, and this will also meet the red, pink, or orange criteria for the color for February, so I'll get some bonus points out of this. I'm also planning on making, and this should be, in theory, a nice quick knit. The category for body part is for the neck for February, so I'll be making the Brecken Wick Cowl, which is a $4 US Ravelry download by my friend Jennifer of Contented Butterfly Farm. And so she gave me a copy to do a giveaway with, and she also gifted me a copy of it as well as a thank you. So I am looking forward to doing that cowl for February for the neck. Really, usually it's Ozzy who's the jerk. You never even play. I don't even get this. Alright, well, that's just what happens, right? And I am making this in some Rowan Pure Life British Sheep Breeds DK Undyed, and this is the grey Suffolk. And so it's it's blowing out the label, but the colors are pretty true. Well, no, they're not at all, actually, now. Alright, that may have made things worse. I don't really know. I just added some light, so. Yeah, it's these sort of natural cream and gray colors marled together. So I've got 2 balls of this to make the Breckenwick cowl for February. And then in March, my plans are sweater because I'm not going to be done with that. I'm pretty certain. And then also, the categories are green or yellow for colors, or for the feet or hands for body parts. And, it's funny, for someone who loves the color green, I don't really have a ton of green yarn right now, I think. So I was just really stalling on what I wanted to make. And then Andrea, the cat lady of the Cat Lady podcast, sent me some Knit Picks Felici. And so she mentioned she was thinking about maybe doing her socks in March. And I said, well, that covers for the hands or feet. And she sent me the Madrigal colorway, which literally I just realized before I started recording has green in it. So that might be my March bonus points project. And I'm sorry, I should know better. I should hold this up longer so you can see all the pretties. It's sort of this like muted rainbow, which is neat. So those are my knitting plans. I feel like maybe it's a little bit ambitious, but we'll see if I can get it done or not. I'm really hoping to. A lot of these are yarns that I've had for a little while and I really like to use up. I've never made a sweater before. If I actually do this, I'm going to have to change my YouTube description box because it says I've never made a sweater, so that's maybe going to change. We'll see. And then the last thing I wanted to do is I just wanted to mention a couple of additions to the prize thread. If you haven't looked at the prize thread in the Winter Camp group, go ahead and look. We're constantly updating it when we get new prize donations, and to go over every single one of them on air would take forever. And there are some great pictures in there. And basically, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but every 50 points you acquire in the regular cabins, you basically get a ticket into the drawing for one of the smaller prizes. So Claire of the New Hampshire Knits podcast has donated a copy of her Agatha sock pattern, which is something I'm currently working on, and you can go ahead and watch the podcast video if you want to see those. I'm gonna mispronounce it. Colory is donating the Rainbow Magic Cowl, which I will be honest, I found while looking for something totally different, but I loved it anyway. And I said, will you please offer this as like a prize for us? That would be really awesome. And she said yes. And it is a stash busting cowl, essentially. It uses either worsted weight or bulky yarn. It's reversible, and I think the stripes go one way, like up and down, and then they go side to side depending on which way you wear it. And it uses 18 colors of yarn. Now, granted, if you don't have 18 colors of yarn, you could, I'm sure, do like stripes or repeats or whatever. But I just thought it was too cool. And I probably do have 18 colors of worsted weight scraps in my stash, except for green. So that is an awesome one. That is going to be a prize. And then I also had a goal, and I probably should have started this way sooner, but I'm a procrastinator. And I was hoping to have as many of the cabin's animals represented by a pattern as possible. And so far I've heard back from 3 designers, so that's actually pretty good. And so one of them is the Snowy Owl pattern, which is donated by the designer, I'm going to totally mispronounce this, Shui Quen? Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I'm bad at saying words. And she generously is donating a copy of her pattern. It is actually not, it doesn't look like a snowy owl. There are some fabulous snowy owl patterns out there on Ravelry, but this is actually a beautiful lace weight shawl. And I just fell in love with it. And I'm like, well, it's not actually the animal, but it is named the Snowy Owl, so it doesn't hurt to ask. And so she's generously donating a copy of this beautiful shawl pattern to the giveaway. And then we've also got, donated by the designer, the Velvet Acorn, a copy of the Phelan Fox Cowl, which is a super bulky cowl, which comes in 3 sizes for toddler, child, and adult. She does make note that there are going to be some crochet elements to this, so something to consider if you win it, but it is just so cute and I love it. And it's actually a really popular pattern too, which is always nice when somebody with a big pattern is cool with donating it. And then the last thing that I was in touch with the designer with was the and I'm gonna pronounce this properly because I learned it's the Ermine Stoat Short-Tailed Weasel Crochet Amigurumi pattern, which is donated by the designer Ooh Look It's a Rabbit. And this one is awesome because it's crochet. I crochet a little bit, but I really also wanted to see crochet patterns incorporated into the winter camp giveaway. A lot of designers are donating credits and they may have crochet stuff also. But again, I sort of had this specific vision in mind of the winter camp animals. And so this is a crocheted ermine, and there are only like 3 patterns on Ravelry that I think that have the word ermine in them. Anyway, at this point I think I'm just babbling. Let me know what you're planning on making for winter camp. Post pictures in the thread if you haven't done so already. I'm going to post a copy of this to my Ravelry group, which is the Uncreative Crafter podcast fans. But I'm also going to post a copy in the chatter thread on the Team Snowy Owl thread in the winter camp group. So again, you don't have to watch the podcast or be in that group to see these. But if you would like to join, I'm not going to tell you no, because when I get people, sometimes there are giveaways. I'm just saying. So anyway, I will let you guys get to it. I will chat with you again after the start of winter camp. I'm not going to be able to record a winter camp video until maybe the second weekend in January. My hope is, I don't know if I'm going to plan to do, because I record on a bi-weekly schedule usually, and I guess I was thinking maybe like every off week that I'm not doing a podcast, I might do a winter camp video, or just, since I've already got everything set up for podcasting, just do the winter camp video after. But I am planning to hopefully get at least one episode up, a mini episode up a month for winter camp. So we'll see how well that goes. Get ready, clean off those needles and hooks if you can. Get your hand stretches down, drink lots of water, get lots of sleep, and get ready to cast on all the things at 7 p.m. your time on New Year's Eve. I'm really excited, and there are hashtags that I forgot to write down, and I was going to talk about those, but I'll put them in show notes and whatnot, so you can start tagging stuff on Instagram. And go Team Snowy Owl. So I will see you guys again once winter camp has started. But again, I will be chatting in the thread like nobody's business. And probably we'll all stop chatting once camp starts. So let's get the chatty out now, okay, guys? So thanks so much for checking this out. And I will see you in a little bit. Have a good one. Happy New Year. Bye.